Top story on this Wednesday morning. First two evacuation flights carrying British nationals from Sudan have landed in Cyprus. British troops are preparing to take over the running of a key airfield.
Yes, taking advantage of a 72-hour ceasefire, the Prime Minister has pledged many more flights will follow as the government is looking to try and evacuate around 4,000 British passport holders.
What's it like out there? The chair of the Foreign Affairs Select Committee, Alicia Cairns, has warned the government not to miss a window here to rescue people, as the truce would likely not hold.
Well, we can speak now to someone who is still stuck in Sudan, Lakshmi Parthasarathy, a US citizen and a travel blogger. It's been incredibly difficult to be able to catch up with you, actually, hasn't it, due to the circumstances you're facing? Just bring us up to date on what it's like where you are.
So I've reached Wad Madani, which is a city 200 kilometers south of Khartoum. And here there are no sounds of gunshots, thankfully, no bombs, and it's a safe area. And the scene when I left Khartoum yesterday, or 2 days before, was complete mayhem. Getting out was very, very difficult. So embassies have provided some evacuation services. At that point in time, I had received no communication from the U.S. Embassy other than to shelter in place. But at that time, there wasn't really a way to shelter in place because there was no power, no water, and no money. And internet was blacking out. And the fighting had basically spilled into the residential street that I was living on because I was in Khartoum Central. And I'd been lucky for a while where it had remained quiet. But at that point, it was time to flee. And so I was able to hitchhike out of Khartoum and with the help of Sudanese people, make it to Wad Madani. So there are trucks, actually, the locals have organized these caravans that are just transporting Sudanese women, children, families through from Khartoum down to areas of safety. They've set up these roadside shelters, like these mini refugee camps of sorts. And so we were kind of cramped on this truck with a lot of different Sudanese people, and we finally made it to what was, to me, the middle of nowhere, but there were these people that took us into a classroom that had been turned into a little place for people to sleep, and they gave us food and water. In the morning, we were able to basically hitchhike more rides to reach Wad Madani. It was definitely a stressful journey. I can't believe how expensive things have gotten in the country so quickly. So that's been like really, really difficult because there's no access to money, but then fuel prices have skyrocketed. So just getting from Khartoum to, say, like Port Sudan will cost hundreds of dollars. Even crossing the city, a Greek man lived in my building and he was trying to evacuate. They were trying to charge him 300,000 Sudanese pounds to reach the military airport in Omdurman, which is like 45 minutes away, and that's like $500. It's absolutely insane, and no one has access to money. So thankfully, I've reached a friend's place here in Wad Madani, and I've been able to relax a bit. Power just went out, unfortunately, here as well, just this morning, but it is a safe place, and I am planning on actually just crossing through Ethiopia and evacuating myself out of Sudan. The embassy has been in touch with us now about evacuation services in Port Sudan, but it's very, very far. So it's kind of the situation at the moment.
But how would that be organised? How would you actually get to Ethiopia? And as you say, I mean, you're relying on the kindness. There's two things. You're relying on the kindness of a lot of people, and also then there are people there taking advantage of the whole situation by charging you huge amounts of money for certain things. So how's this going to work itself out?
So I will be planning on hitchhiking. It would be the same method that I would use to get to Port Sudan, but Ethiopia is actually closer. It's about 300 kilometers or so to the border, to Metema, but it's going to be like 10 hours versus 3 hours. To go to like Port Sudan is much, much farther. And I'd have to use the same route because all I have is like $20 with me. And to be honest, I actually saw the lines to gas stations and saw the prices of what a liter of fuel costs in the country now. And I realized that people are not actually overcharging. I mean, they are to some extent in Khartoum because there's also like they have to drive through dangerous areas and things. But it's extremely expensive. I was like, I think it might cost like a couple $100s to fill a tank for a car. So
Yeah.
people are actually just like, the inflation, I think, is crazy, and it's so scarce right now. And so the costs are just that high, and people there are people probably taking advantage, but a lot of people are just trying to charge what actually is the price.
Well, as a US citizen, you'll be able, presumably, to access your funds once you're out of the country and back into a more stable country like Ethiopia. But what's the mood amongst people where you are who can't get access to money, are watching their country, fall into civil war, and many people not being able to return to their homes? There must be a lot of hugely distraught people.
Yes, that was the saddest part. I left behind my laptop and actually my credit cards and debit cards because I had left them for safekeeping in a friend's place near the airport before things broke out in Khartoum. But then when I was in this caravan with all of these Sudanese families and I saw them fleeing their homes with their families, I realized none of my stuff really matters. For them, the people that arrived in this camp, that's going to be their home now for, they don't know how long, they don't know where they can go, they don't know what to do. And it's so unclear how long this conflict will continue. It could go on for weeks, it could go on for months. So it's a really, really difficult situation for all these Sudanese people. There's a lot of people from Sudan who are fleeing to Ethiopia, they're fleeing to Chad, fleeing to Egypt, and for them it's extremely hard.
Well, Lakshmi, we wish you well. We hope you stay safe, and if you get a chance, keep us posted how you are getting on. But
yes, I will.
The main thing is stay safe. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for talking to us.
Yeah, I will be updating people with my journey to Ethiopia and beyond. So, yes, thank you.
We wish you the very best.
And thank you for having me.
Crossing our fingers for you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.